boys. Welcome to TL's Roadhouse. My good friend Alexandra K is on the couch with us today. It's great to see you, my friend.
It is so great to see you. That music's rocking.
Yeah, we're getting there slowly but surely. Since the last show yesterday, we have completely rearranged the room. So, so all the folks that are watching this in sequence when it comes out, you're going to go, wasn't that over there yesterday and over there yesterday? So we're figuring things out as we go. So I'm sure it's going to continue to evolve.
It feels great though.
It's good.
The room feels great. It's got a good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jelly Roll set the tone yesterday. So, Lord have mercy. There was some tequila drink. It's a good thing
He loves
he was the
his
last
tequila.
One
I just adore
we wrapped
him.
the day up with Jelly. Is it Mr. Jelly or Mr. Roll? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I just call him Jelly.
What a sweet man.
Isn't he?
Really
He's
is.
like a big teddy bear. I mean, I think, well, the last time that I saw him, we were just in the celebrity softball game together and he was pouring tequila down everybody's throats. So, but we won. So I think he got his team drunk. That might have helped us out a little bit.
Yeah, he's and he can hold his liquor too. I'll tell you that. Yeah, he didn't have Right. So we met a few months back when Clay and I were out on tour. You came out and opened up some shows for us.
Yeah, that was so
and
much
it was
fun.
an absolute thrill. So since then, I know you've been doing some stuff with Tim McGraw. How's life treating you? Where's your career at right now?
Oh man. Well, we just wrapped the Tim McGraw tour. I think we were out for 2 months with him and it was an incredible experience. You know, it was my first time ever playing on an amphitheater stage.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it. You know, I was really nervous going into it and then instinct just kind of took over once I got on stage and now I'm just itching to get back up on a stage like that, you know? I think it really lit a fire under me.
Well, it should. I mean, I love the amphitheaters. They're awesome. And you start to think about all the amphitheaters that you've seen the big acts in and then realize, hey, I'm on one of these big stages. It's pretty awesome. And Tim's great. I mean, he and I have been friends for over 30 years. He's just a gracious guy. He's grown so much, and I'm very proud for all of his success, and he and I still talk a lot. So
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
we talked about you a couple of times.
sure you did. You can't believe all of his lies now.
He told me some stories.
Yeah.
No, we talked about you and how much we both love you and how much fun it was for you to take me out on the road. And man, that was an absolute blast with you and Clay. I heard you guys are going back out in November.
We are. We've got a couple of weekends, the first and second week in November, and I can't remember just off the top of my head where we're at, but I'm sure the boys over there will post it somewhere.
Right.
But and we're still trying to look at options for next year. I'm hoping that we go out. It's a great thing for both of us. But we've been out with Brad Paisley a bunch this year, and
Wow.
pretty much doing most of Jason Aldean's stuff this fall too. So I'm busy. I've got a lot of stuff in front of me and a lot of great options out there. So I just don't know what all's going to happen.
That's what I hear. And then you just did a show with Morgan too, right?
Yeah, we've got a couple of shows with Morgan. So
How was that?
I haven't had a chance to meet him yet. We did one. We've got several coming up. The show that we were at with him, I had to leave really quick after my show because I had to get to the airport.
Right.
We were en route and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that Hardy and I are going to get to sit down. He's going to do my podcast soon, and we got some. It's going to be very different. So he's a tattoo artist. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, I heard that when I ran into you at the airport. I ran into Tracy at the airport, and you told me that day when we were walking.
It's going to be fun.
I know.
I wonder if I can carry on the conversation while I'm getting carved on.
I guarantee you
fun.
could.
It'd be
I
fun.
bet you could. Wait, no, this is your first, you said.
No,
Not your first. This is your last.
No. No.
Didn't you say there's one tattoo you wanted to get? It was because it was an inside thing, right?
I've got a bunch.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 or 9. 8 or 9 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. That's what my mama
What
says
is your
too.
craziest story tattoo from a tattoo? Any like just really drunken ones or?
Oh yeah. So my very first one, I was in New York City. We were playing a little music festival in Battery Park. This was like 92. This was
Okay.
very early on. And I was sitting up in the front in the jump seat of the bus, and I was watching all these New Yorkers come by, and I'm like just kind of bored. And I'm like, I would really like to meet the craziest, wildest person that I can spot. So I sat there for a while, and I watched people come by, and there was this late 60-year-old guy with gray hair down all the way down his back.
Okay.
Tattoos all over him. Had this 20-something-year-old babe with him.
Okay.
He had a Harley Davidson headband tattooed on around his top of his head with HD right in the middle of it. I'm like, get that guy. It was Tattoo Al. So I got to be friends with Tattoo Al. The next time we came back to town, we wound up going to his tattoo shop down in the Bronx. Took the bus down there in the middle of the night. And you're going to love my tattoo I got. It's a Tasmanian devil strangling Bugs Bunny. And yes, there was alcohol involved.
I really wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not surprised by that.
So we just got back from Europe, and then I'm going to stop talking about me. So we, with the kids and I and family, went over to Italy for a couple of weeks. And at the very end of our trip, we all got a tattoo together. Me and both my daughters and my wife. So we have a compass in the north, south, east, west. So everybody got theirs in a different spot. Some are Danny. Everybody got their own thing. So it was a very cool thing that we did.
That's awesome.
I'm a
I
cool
want to
dad.
get another one. I have two.
Yeah.
I have this cross on my wrist. I got this while I was shooting West Side on Netflix. So it's actually part of the show of me getting this tattoo.
Cool.
And then
Did you have dialogue while you were getting it done?
it's probably just me being like, that's pretty much it. I was trying to. It's like, it's only when it gets close to like a bone that it really bothers me. But other than that, I felt like I was all right. And then that was quick, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I have one on my side
Yeah.
of a treble clef.
Okay.
And that was, I
Well,
think I was 18. I think.
Warning: the longer settings hurt a lot worse.
Yeah.
They can grind on you pretty hard. 4.5 hours is the longest I've ever set for one.
4.5.
At one time.
I couldn't imagine being 4.5 hours in a chair.
It as every time they come around, it's like you would think it would deaden, but it just gets more sensitive. Every pass.
Do you have
they
shading?
Make, oh yeah, it's a big cross on my leg.
Oh my gosh.
And it hurt. It got me. That's about as long as I think I could take.
Was there a point where you were just like, I'm done?
No, I was determined. I was gonna follow through.
So you weren't gonna have like a half shaded
we were
cross
talking about
on your
Tim.
leg?
This was my gift to me after I won Vocal Event of the Year at the Academy of Country Music Awards in 2007 out in Las Vegas with me and Tim and Kenny, and I went to the place and had that done. That was my gift to myself.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool.
So I didn't realize, we're gonna stop talking about me. We're gonna talk about you. I didn't realize that you were a rap songwriter. Come on, rap a little for me.
I
Talk to me.
So when I was coming up in the music scene in St. Louis,
Okay.
there was really no platform for country music in my area.
Yeah.
And so being the savvy independent artist that I've always been at heart, I was like, how am I going to break in an environment that doesn't fully embrace what I do? And so I said, I'm just going to get in where I can. And so I met some guys that I was working at the Four Seasons at the time. When I was 18, I was the hostess at the restaurant in the Four Seasons. Met a couple guys at the hotel that are in hip hop, and I was just like, guys, I'll sing on your tracks for free, just whatever you guys want, And they were like, cool. So I was in like every single CD apartment closet studio, recording vocals for like that whole year. And just one person passed my name to the next, and I just kind of became the hook girl in town, and then that got me to work with Huey, and then that got me to work with Nelly, and so then I was demoing and doing some stuff with Nelly over at Dirty Entertainment, which is in the St. Louis area, and then I got my first record deal from that, which is an R&B deal.
See, you didn't tell me all that before.
Well, Tracy,
Gotta dig this stuff out.
I'm always asking you questions because I still have so much more that I want to learn about your life. So.
Yeah, this is not about me. There's a lot to learn.
But yeah, it was a really cool time in my life. And then when I was signed to this deal, I was still writing country music. It was just being produced as R&B music. And then I just felt like I wasn't being true to myself. And I had shed a lot of tears and then left my first deal. And then that's when I started going on Facebook. So this would have been about 2013, 2014. And I would sit on my parents' stairs and I would sing 90s country songs. Covered a couple of your songs on that staircase. Yeah. And that's how I started to gain a following.
I think all the tools that we have at our disposal now, in spite of the the negative things that come with social media and all the aspects of it. From a creative side and from an artist side, it gives us a lot of resources to reach our fan base out there and to grow a fan base, especially as a new artist, and to give you leverage when you do get in a situation where you got labels to come at you, where you do have a little bit more control of your destiny. Unlike some kid like me rolling into town, that it's like I was thankful to get a record deal,
Right.
and hindsight 2020. You look back on those things, and you're never getting a great deal. Record deals were not designed to be in your favor. They never are, and
Still aren't.
They still aren't. They're worse now than they've ever been. But having a little bit more leverage puts you more in the driver's seat, where you have more control of yourself. How did you really get comfortable? So there's things about social media that I find a little bit hard for me to participate in. I mean, I'm playing around with some things, trying to figure out a path. But is it a generational thing that has allowed you to embrace it all more? Because you seem to be very comfortable with all of it.
Well, I think I just started young doing it. I mean, I started doing that in 2013. But prior to that, I was also like acting. I did a lot of commercial work when I was younger. I got my start in musical theater. And so being in front of the camera, I was on a Netflix TV show for 2 years. So being in front of the camera is very easy for me. And I've had a lot of practice and stuff like that. And so I think that once I got on social media, I just looked at it as, this is my shot. This is my shot to be able to be exactly who I am and to take my music and take it directly to the consumer and not have to listen to somebody telling me that they're not going to like it, when I in my heart feel like maybe the people that they think won't like it won't, but there's somebody out there that will. And there's an audience for everything that we're creating.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of putting it out there and letting it find that audience.
Or knowing the right pathway to go down to reach that particular audience that
Right.
you're after. Now, but do you worry about putting yourself in a situation where you can allow yourself to just be so consumed by all of it that you're spending all of your time putting your whole life on the internet? Do you set some parameters for yourself? Are you conscious of that?
I've had to be now, but just because I ran into some really hard things. I mean, I've had people find my house and show up at my house and people pretend to be my husband and they get, lots of money out of these fans and people that think they're in relationships with me and all of that stuff. But I think that the hardest part of it all was having to be okay with people directly being extremely hateful to me.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing. And that took a long time because it did completely consume me. And I'm totally fine with saying that.
And putting yourself out there like that, where you are engaged all the time, you can't just not look at it.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to, especially when it's on your platform and it's coming at you on your channel. I mean, you have to look. You at least have to sift through it. And there's a big difference between being a celebrity and being there's different categories. With stardom, there comes resources to shield and protect yourself. Being a celebrity, especially starting out, you don't have the resources to shield and guard yourself. So there's a lot of danger out there that you have to be aware of. People are crazy nowadays.
Man, some of the things, it's insane. And my husband, one night, I think we were just like out at a bar somewhere and we were drinking, just talking. And one night he just like showed me all of these messages he's been receiving that he hadn't told me about because he didn't want to scare me. But he was just kind of handling them quietly, like, hey, that's not me. And of people thinking they have been in a relationship with me for a really long time and giving money. And then they reach out to him because the scammer had stolen everything in their bank account or whatever it was. And then they reach out to him and say, this is what your wife's doing to you. And he's like, well, it's not. But I mean, the sheer amount of messages that he showed me that night terrified me. And he's like, this is why I haven't,
it's constant.
It's constant.
I know from my side of it, my social media team, it's 20 or 30 every week.
I can't.
And you shut them down and they pop up somewhere else. You can't stop them fast enough. So it's been several years ago. And this is absolutely insane. I was at a show and I was backstage doing meet and greet. And the security guard came up to my tour manager. He said, Tracy's fiance is out front trying to get in. And he said, Tracy's been married for 20 years. I don't think that's Tracy's fiance. So he goes out front. And he comes back and he said, man, there is a 76-year-old woman out there with her suitcase in her hand, says that she's supposed to get on the bus and y'all are running away together.
Oh, no.
Somebody has scammed her, and I don't know how much they got out of her, but they have made her believe that we're in love and I'm leaving my wife and my kids and we're running off together. I'm not kidding you.
No.
Yeah.
Man, that had to be scary for you. I mean, that's scary.
I have more sympathy, and I felt sorry for her because she had been used. And a lot of people, they prey on loneliness. A lot of those guys do. They prey on lonely people, but what do you do about it?
It's a helpless feeling because there's nothing we can do about it.
There's not.
But continuously say over and over, and I mean, man, I probably make one video or one post a week saying if it doesn't have a blue verified check mark, the person that you're talking to, it is not me.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that we can kind of get that across to everybody in order to try to shut this thing down. And then I get on and I block. But that kind of goes back to our conversation of the hate as well, is it's hard not to see it because I have to go through comments, me and then one other person on my social media team that goes through comments and like blocks the accounts that are trying to talk to people as me, like the fake accounts. So you got to get on and do that. And then you also want to interact with the people that are there praising your talent or your content and saying they just bought a ticket to your show. Like, I want to be the person that says, hey, thank you so much for doing that. I can't wait to meet you afterwards. And so I had to make that decision to where I wasn't going to give up my want and need to communicate with my fans just because I do come across some really hateful things. I just had to get some thicker skin, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't get to me and I didn't have a cry every once in a while because we're human.
Absolutely. So have you been able to put it down in a song of any kind where you just kind of released all that stuff? You worked on it?
I have, but I haven't shared any of those yet. But
Sometimes
I have.
It's just good. Sometimes just speaking it out loud or writing it down is therapeutic.
100%. I mean, I've written an entire song about that whole situation and the loneliness that kind of comes with that as well. And you also kind of get used to people having their phone out a lot, which I know that you're used to, I mean, I assume you probably can't walk into a restaurant without somebody being like this.
Yeah, I got back from the gym yesterday, and my daughter said, one of my friends was at the gym, and she just sent me a picture of you working out. Like, I never even saw it. I'm oblivious to it. I mean, I just don't even pay attention.
Right.
Yeah, but somebody's always taking a picture. Always. You might not see them, but it's there, and it's going
right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when you first got started,
no, none of that was there. We still had Polaroids back then. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was back.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yeah,
I went to school in a rickshaw.
No, but that's crazy because for now, like right now, I could be having a full conversation with my husband. We could be at a bar. We could be talking about some really personal stuff, whatever it is, and somebody could be videotaping the entire conversation.
They could be recording you.
I've seen it.
Yes, they could.
I've seen it, and I've like looked over and been like, "Are you recording right now?" And then they're just like, "No." I'm like, "You're 100% recording me. Why?"
Because it's weird.
I don't understand that. But that's something that I'm just now. It's happening more and more, and I'm kind of navigating that, and that's weird. Yeah.
In the 90s, when my career really popped hard, I remember there was years. The only time I could go to the grocery stores at midnight because the grocery store, at least here, did stay open. I mean, the Kroger stayed open all night. I remember trying to go in the afternoon one time, and they called my name over the intercom in the grocery store, and I literally had to run out. I mean, it was, but that was when I was younger. Back
We'd
then,
like to welcome Tracy Lawrence to Publix. Thank you so much for
the van. They used to have these celebrity vans that would tour the artists' homes. So I had a van that would bring people out here, and they'd come by a couple of times a day, especially during CMA Music Fest or Fanfare back then, all that. So I had a stalker one time, and she actually got mail out of my mailbox. She had a checking account opened up here in the town that we live in, said that she was my girlfriend, and we had a love child together. She went to Vegas. She bought jewelry. She bought airline tickets. She bought the whole thing. She eventually went to prison. she had pictures of the inside of my house that she had. She
I
had
just got
pictures of my
chills.
kitchen. She would have had to come through the gates, snuck around the back of the house, and got in the house and had pictures of the inside of my house. And she had never been in my house, to my knowledge, and that's scary.
Man, I couldn't imagine being your wife in a situation like that.
My wife's got a concealed carry permit.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, my husband as well. Like, as soon as people started showing up to our house, and like, I mean, some of these messages that he showed me the other day, they have our home address.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that's terrifying for me. You know, I'm like,
It is.
I haven't slept as well since I found out that information is out there. How? I don't know, but
Well, it's all out there. Was performing at those big arenas, does that validate it? Does that
Man.
make it okay?
man,
I mean, that's the positive side of it. You
It's-
get
it's
to go out there and you get
100%.
to feel that energy and that love, and to do what you do and release your spirit to all these people and get all that love back. That's what it's all about.
you get to touch people with your music.
Yeah.
And you get to watch it go from their ears into their brains, into their hearts, and you get to feel that reaction. And there's nothing like live music, you know that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you know, the COVID stuff, like that was really tough on all of us, and having to, you know, we did Facebook Live acoustic sets every
Not the
Tuesday,
same.
and it's just not the same.
Same. You don't get that energy and that feedback. I mean, you feel that. I mean, when you're in front of that crowd, you feel that love.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
What's your how do you approach doing your single releases on socials? What's your strategy?
Well, I have a lot of different strategies, and I kind of go a different route with each one, especially since I'm still very much learning how I want to do this, and the internet is constantly changing. There's
I asked
always
that.
a new trend. There's always, you know.
And I ask that because the world that I grew up in, when you would release a single and you'd go up the charts, you could feel it. It built. It had a lifespan to it. It was tangible. You could feel the intensity in the crowd grow. I mean, by the time it hit 40, and then by the time it got in the 20s, it was getting bigger. When it cracked top 10, it got bigger. By the time it was top 5, when it would peak out, you could feel that energy. I mean, it was a wave. It would come up and down, and then it would back off. You know, then it would burn off. You don't get to experience those same feelings with digital releases because, and what I've found as I'm learning this whole thing new to navigate is how if I dropped 3 records last year, and I'm sure you're releasing stuff all the time, how do you determine which ones are impacting and which ones aren't? How do you, as you build your set list and you want to play the things that you know people are wanting to hear, how do you determine that?
Well, a couple different things. Right now, there's a song I'm getting ready to put out. This is probably I'm so excited about it. I'm the most excited about this song that I have been in a long time for releases. And I knew I needed to release it whenever I was playing it out, and people would roar in the middle of it. I mean, it was like by the time that the first verse and the first chorus were done, screaming. Like they had never heard it, and
That's a
and
good
so
sign.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, that has always existed. That kind of navigating this and figuring out what you wanted to release based on the reaction during a live set.
Yeah.
That's primarily how they would do it. And then now we have this ability to put it out on TikTok directly to the consumer. Before I spend, as an independent artist, before I spend thousands of dollars
Yep.
to get this thing produced and ready and build an entire marketing campaign and music videos and the whole shebang on this, I can, for free, give it to them and be like, do you guys like this? And, you know, it either flops or it goes millions and millions and millions and millions of views, and then you have a pre-save. So I've been doing a lot of pre-save campaigns. And so I can see how it's doing with the pre-save number as well. So if I'm getting 50,000 to 100,000 pre-saves, I know it's going to do well. If I'm getting, you know, 5,000, 10,000, probably not the one I should invest in right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. We called that market research back then.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we were still doing Polaroids.
Sometimes I wish we were still doing Polaroids.
Oh my goodness. Tell me about your childhood in St. Louis. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I did. I grew up with an older sister named Courtney. She's 31. And then a younger sister, Taylor. She's 27.
Cool.
And we were a big softball family. I think that's where I got my work ethic. We were just talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Organized sports was a huge thing for my family. And we were a big softball family. We all played competitive in like elite leagues from when we were 11 to when we were 18 is when I stopped.
Yeah.
And My sisters went on to college, and I turned down my scholarships, and I didn't go to college, and I pursued music. And my parents were not happy, but I think it was the right decision.
You know, sometimes we have to make hard decisions about what we want in life, and we have to follow our own path.
Right.
And everybody doesn't always agree with that, but you have to be you.
When did you make the decision to, like, was there anything that, like, did you play sports or did you have, like, a college plan? And when did you make the decision to not go and do that and to choose this instead and move to Nashville?
I went to college for a couple of years on a music
Oh, you
scholarship.
did?
I sang in the choral ensemble with powder blue tuxedo, the whole thing.
Oh,
Smoke gets in your eyes.
with that hair, I can see it. I can see it.
But it just wasn't. It wasn't me. I was still playing country music on the weekends. I played in a couple of different circuit bands. I graduated in '86, so there's a 4-year window there, a 3 or 4 year window there. You know, you had in '89, and I talk about this all the time. '89 was the year that kicked all this off because you had Clint Black and Garth Brooks and Travis Tritt and Alan Jackson and Mark Chestnut and Vince Gill. Those guys, they were the very beginning of all this because it was different than the Earl Thomas Conleys and the Ronnie Millsaps and the George Straits. And I mean, it was just different. And when I heard all that music come out, I was playing all that stuff. That was what I was cutting my teeth on. And then in '90, I realized that if I'm going to go to Nashville, I need to go now. And that was the catalyst that set everything off. And I just said, I'm going for broke. I'm going to pack up and go. And it's terrifying to me.
How old were you then?
I was 22.
Wow.
I was just a kid. I came here with $700 in my pocket and a beat up old car, and I didn't know anybody here. Yeah. It was a wild time, but I love Nashville. You know what I loved about it so much is I'd lived in a few places around, and for the first time I rode into this town, I found all these other people that were just like me. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I do.
There's something special about that because, you know, when you make those decisions for you and your parents are upset and they're like, I can't believe you're doing that. You're throwing your life away. And you come here and you realize that there are other people that have the same dream that you have. And there's a community of people that embrace each other. You've got to watch it. You can pick out the backstabbers, but
Sure,
most people are
yeah.
happy for your success.
Right.
Most people want to prop you up, man. You know, they do. There's room for everybody if you're just dedicated to it. Everybody's not committed to the long-term plan. Some people give themselves 2 years, say, I'm going to give it a couple of years, and if it doesn't work, I'm going home.
Right.
I came with no intentions of going back.
Me either. When I
Period.
started this, I was the exact. My mom used to be like, "Well, you need a plan B," and I'm like, "I don't.
No,
I don't. There is no plan B. This is going to work, or I'm going to do something that has to do with this."
Whether it's working at a record label or going into the publishing business or working at a radio station or doing social media, whatever it is, I'm going to be in this.
In this business.
In some shape, form, or fashion, I'm going to be in it.
Right, I absolutely knew that from the jump, and I didn't have a plan. I just was like, well, I got to get started because I started later in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I started writing songs when I was 15. 15, yeah. And that was really just because, you know, I was going through some really dark things as a preteen and a teenager, and, you know, I had my first boyfriend and my first heartbreak and then, you know, other things that kind of came along with that, and I was being bullied a lot and I needed an outlet. And so I just got it like a diary. And I still remember what the book looked like. It had like dandelions on it. And so now I always buy, anytime I see a notebook that has dandelions on, I always buy it. But that was and I write in that book. Yeah. And I bought that book. It was diary entries that turned into poems. And then, I was listening to a lot of Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Sarah Evans, Leanne Rimes, Jody Messina. Yeah. I was listening to all those ladies, Trisha Yearwood. And that's what it started to sound like when I was getting these melodies. These melodies just started coming to my head, and I didn't play an instrument. I didn't play guitar. I didn't play anything, and I just started hearing these melodies with these poems, and I just started writing songs. And would bring these songs to my parents, and they were like, "You can sing? Like, since when? No, like, you don't know you can sing until somebody's like, hey, you can sing. Like, you sing well." And they didn't know I could sing until I was, probably 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was like, I would hear you in church every once in a while and be like, oh, she's got a different voice, but yeah, so it wasn't anything that was ever just like instilled in me or anything that I watched somebody else in my family do. It just was there, and I just chased it down.
Sometimes it's just in you.
Right.
And it might have come, I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't really have anybody in my family that was musical. But then you find out that somewhere, like your grandmother or somebody, there was a great uncle or somebody that was in a band or something. So it's in the blood somewhere.
Right.
It's kind of, sometimes it might be a little buried. Didn't grow up in a musical family. We didn't sit around and sing Jingle Bells at the holiday time with Mama banging on the piano. No, that wasn't my house.
What made you want to pick up a guitar?
I was born with it. When I remember being 4 years old, I told everybody, I said, I look like Glenn Campbell, I sing like Charlie Pride. I mean, it was always there, and I've always retained lyrics well. I've always remembered them. That's just been, they're all there. I mean, even stuff, if I can kind of remember the first word, something 20 years ago, 30 years ago, usually it all comes back for the most of it.
Yeah.
They're
I
just
feel
all
the same. I'm kind of that way too. I always just kind of felt like it was because we had to play 5 hours of it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We just got used to retaining it.
Ever walked up on stage and sang a song that you've never sung before and remembered all the words?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, but to other people it is. My husband,
Yeah.
He cannot remember a lyric to save his life.
Yeah.
The other day, this is not a joke, and I'm going to call Indy out really quick. I said, if someone bet you $100 that you could not sing this lyric to your wife's song, any lyric from this song correctly, and I sang a line, and I was like, what's the next line? No idea. I was like, there's no way. It's just crazy. Some people have it, some people don't, but he does not retain lyrics. He's more of like, he listens to like EDM and like, I feel like he could listen to things that have no lyrics and he would like vibe with it. I'm not. That's why I fell in love with country music. For me, I was never able to study if I had homework. If music was on at all, I couldn't process it. I had to be in dead silence. Me
I couldn't
too.
listen to TV. I could not, because it was totally distracting to me. I just got lost in it. I would listen to the structure and the guitar part and hear what the bass was doing. I could not focus with music going on in my life.
Me either.
Yeah.
Me either. But I'm also just like, I feel like we're all kind of the same. Like we are wired similarly to where, if I was reading was always tough for me because I get past like 3 lines and my mind just trails completely to something else. I'm 3
I'd have
pages
to read
deep.
it 3 or 4 times
Same.
to retain a paragraph.
Me too. Because I'm thinking about something completely different, and then
Deficit disorder.
right. And I'm like a page away, and I'm like, I retained 0%.
But music made me realize that I was able to focus because I could focus on that.
Right.
That's why it's so important for kids that have dyslexia and all these other learning disabilities that we've learned now. There are ways, because once you get the confidence and you learn the tools and the techniques to focus, you can get past that.
Yes.
And music is a powerful tool to help with that.
I completely
It
agree.
really is. At least it was for me.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I think it's just a different side of the brain.
It is. It's really strange, and it kind of goes back to you feeling like whenever you get here that you found your people. You find people that understand. And you're in a room and you don't feel like you're like as weird as you thought you were. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't go that far.
It's like
I know I'm weird.
But it's weird to sit in a room with people who think the way that you think, especially when you are trying to, you're just hanging out with your friends that have no musical ability at all and they just don't get it. Or you're trying to talk to your parents and make them understand that you've got this fire inside of you and this is what you have to chase. There is no other choice.
And you come here and you're in some place with about 20 people and you say something, somebody goes, "You hear what you just said? I got it." You got to be careful because they'll snatch those things right out of the air and they'll run home and write it.
Right, exactly.
That's everywhere around here.
100%. 100%. My Uber driver on the way here, he said something. I was like, "That's a country song." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to be looking for it." And I was like, "That's hilarious."
So how much traveling have you done around the country so far? I know you did the McGraw thing. You did some stuff with us.
Mm-hmm.
How extensively have you been, and what's some of your favorite places you've been?
Oh, well, in 2018, right after I got off of the Netflix original series, I had just moved back here, and I put myself on a 2-month tour around the country. and I booked it. Me and Brittany Adams was my booking agent at the time, and we contacted every single place. I lost so much money on that tour, and I drove my Buick Encore, which is now completely gone to shit. I am looking for a new car because I just ran that thing into the ground. Me, an acoustic guitar player, and I drove us around the country for 2 months without going home, and saw a lot of amazing places. Played for, man,
A dozen people
every night. 100%. I think the biggest crowd I played for, and I was like, that was such an awesome show, and it was like 30 people, and like, gosh, I'm just so happy that I remember those days. It makes everything right now feel so much sweeter. I love going to Louisville, Kentucky. I love going anywhere in Kentucky because that is my crowd. They scream the songs at the top of their lungs, and it's just like a very emotional night for me every time I play anywhere near there in Kentucky. It just always reminds me, kind of resets me, reminds me why I do this,
It's cool.
Yeah.
Some of my strange stuff. I follow a lot of weirdness on YouTube. I'll go down a rabbit hole in a heartbeat. I've gotten into this thing called van life, where you've got solo people that have converted these vans, and they're out there traveling around the country by themselves, and they're spending time in Colorado, and they got their dog with them, and I just find it very fascinating watching how people live their lives. It's very it frees my spirit a little bit and lets me see the world from a different perspective.
Right.
It's really cool what
That's
people
funny.
are
My
doing.
husband follows that exact same account. And he'll just lay in bed and be like, look at this band and this band.
I've already gone through the whole conversion. I've watched people do their whole. It's just the stuff I fall into is just insane.
But it is freeing, though, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, imagine, especially, I'm just getting started on being, this was the busiest year of my life this year. I haven't been home, but this is my first, this weekend, we're doing like a couples trip to the Lake of the Ozarks. So that's why I'm flying out of here afterwards. And we're just going to go, get a boat and hang out. And
So that is at the top of the rock, isn't it? Lake of the Ozarks is just outside
Ozark,
of
Missouri.
Ozark, like right there at Branson. So the guy that built Bass Pro Shop has built this resort up that's called the Top of the Rock.
Oh, really?
So it's right there on Lake of the Ozarks. It's right there close to Branson National, which is the big golf course. Tiger Woods just opened up his first public golf course there a few years ago. They have these cottages all around the lake. There are little music venues everywhere. They have the largest Native American museum in the world. Wow. The guy actually brought in, when he got all the artifacts collected, he brought in like the heads of the top 9 tribes and got their blessing before he opened it to the public. They have a woolly mammoth skeleton. You really need to check it out. Look up the Top of the Rock. You're going to be right there in the area. They've got the huge music venues. They've got arcades. They got all kinds of stuff. An amazing par 3 golf course.
I can't believe I didn't know that existed. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. We'll have to look at that for sure.
It's gorgeous.
Wow.
Absolutely. And it's really set up well where there's lodges and different size cabins and everywhere, and there's shuttles running all day that will take you to the main lodge, take you to the restaurants, take you to the little music cafes and all the stuff that's going on. It's really cool.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I'll have to tell Indiana about that. He'll love that. It'll be our next trip, I'm sure.
You'll love that part of the country.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I love it. We go to the Lake of the Ozarks. It's really like where we live in Illinois. We always say we're from St. Louis, but we're not. We're from Illinois. But if you say Illinois, they think you're from Chicago. So we always just say St. Louis because we're about 45 minutes from downtown St. Louis. And so we're right on the border between Illinois and Missouri. And so if you have anything, bachelorette parties, getaway weekends, anything like that, you're either going to Branson, Nashville, or Lake of the Ozarks. Those are the 3 places. And I had my bachelorette party in Lake of the Ozarks. So we're going to go there and hang out this weekend and chill. But this is my first weekend off in almost 4 months.
Wow.
So
how many shows have you done in 4 months?
I have no idea.
Quick count.
Every single, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and sometimes Sundays. But, we don't do, what did somebody say the other day? They said, oh, you guys don't do the Nashville touring. Like, we'll stay out for an entire month.
Yeah.
And just grind it out. without coming back.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a weekend warrior now.
Man, the Weekend Warrior stuff with Tim and with your tour was awesome.
Well,
I was
do
like,
2 or 3
this
days,
is
come
cool.
home, go 2 or 3 days, come home. Yeah.
Right.
But back the first year that I was on the road, which would have been starting off in the fall of '91 all the way through '92. By the time I got to December of '92, I was right. I did 289 shows in 1992. And a lot of them were 2 a days. And by
Two a days?
By the time, back then they wanted us to do 2 shows at all these fairs and festivals. So you'd do 2-hour shows or 15-minute shows, and they would turn the crowd and come in and do it again. That's how they made their money.
Wow.
That was a
So
rough
you'd
year.
spend all day there.
Well, absolutely.
Man.
So I was so fried by the end of that year. I didn't tell my managers anybody where I was going, and I booked a ticket to Hawaii. I booked my own hotel room, and I just disappeared for 10 days. I just packed up and left. Nobody knew where I was.
I love you. That is awesome.
I was fried.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And were you coming off an album cycle? Were you on an album cycle at that point?
Yeah, Sticks and Stones would have been out that first year.
Mm-hmm.
So the album actually dropped. It would have dropped in November of '91. The first single came out, and the first single, Sticks and Stones, peaked out in January of '92. And then we toured on that album all year long. And I think I actually recorded Alibis in that fall because and it may have been in the spring when I cut it. But back then we were getting 4 singles a year. So I was cutting an album every year and a half. Wow. And it took 12 to 14 weeks for a song to get to the top of the chart. So we were banging things out. It was just a whole different time.
And so do you remember what your first amphitheater stage was? Like who you were with or what you like?
I've told this story a bunch, but that one experience for me, my first big tour was with George Jones. So I went out in '92 and '93 with George Jones doing arenas. And I remember Alibis was peaking out in '93, and I remember being on the stage in the arena in Greenville, South Carolina. That was before phones, when everybody was holding cigarette lighters up. I finished Alibis, and the whole room lit up, and they would not stop yelling. And I literally stood on the stage and cried. It was wild. It was crazy back then. Yeah, it was just magic.
And you just knew that you had something special.
Yeah, that was a great time.
You were like, this is gonna work.
You would have loved it.
I know.
Awesome.
I'm not in the right time.
Well, see, I always
feel it all the time.
I felt like I should have been in the '70s with the outlaw movement too. So
Man, I feel like I really, really love that I've been able to experience this generation and everything that it has to offer. I mean, I've been able to pretty much make a career on my terms, and I can release music when I want to release it, and if I don't want to release it, I don't have to. And if I want to go on the road, I can, and if I don't want to, I don't have to.
Take a little time off if you need to.
Right, but I'm always nose to the grindstone. I'm going to run myself ragged, and I know that, but that's just my personality.
That's your personality and your drive and your love for what you do.
I really I'm not happy when I'm not doing it. It's really when I'm the happiest is when I'm on that stage, and when I get to meet everybody. And I know at some point I'm not going to be able to get to meet everybody, but I mean, man, I stay after my shows for 3 hours and I meet everybody.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I just love connecting with people. And I also think that that's why I love country music, and it's so lyric based, and man, those words and melodies from the 90s, early 2000s are what got me through some of the hardest times in my life, and I just want to be able to do that for somebody else.
How do you feel about commercial radio now? Give me your overview of the last 10 years as a person of your generation. Good, the bad, the indifferent.
Man, I definitely remember feeling a lot of resentment when I felt it shift.
You toward the industry?
Yes. Just listening to the radio, and it just was becoming so distant from what I fell in love with.
Oh, yeah.
And I really did, and it's grown on me a lot. And there are a lot of really successful artists now who are really, really thriving in the way that radio is now, and in the way that country music has shifted just sonically. And there are a lot of songs that I really, really like. and there are a lot of artists that are emerging right now who are bringing things back to how it used to be. And I am just, and this is just personal preference, because that's really all it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's always just personal preference, and there are people out there that are gonna love the pop country stuff and all, and there are people that are gonna love, you know, the Zach Bryans and the, you know, Tyler Childers and that kind of stuff. And you know, I really, really love what Luke Combs is doing. I really love what Jameson Rogers is doing. I really love what Muscadine Bloodline is doing. They just put out a banger song. It's called Me on You. If you guys haven't listened to it, it's killer. But they're also independent as well. And you know,
it just feels like the independent world is rising up. It's
it really
amazing
is.
to see.
It really is. And I think that we as a community of independent artists, and one thing that I always want to make sure that I say, because it gets twisted a lot. I do not boycott labels. I do not, like, when the right deal comes along for me, I will take it.
Absolutely.
If it is beneficial to what my plan is. And if it is beneficial for me in the long run. I haven't come across that yet for my third record deal, which is what it will be.
Yeah.
And I've learned from my mistakes that I made in the past. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of backlash from what it feels like, just people in this industry, for not signing and for waving my independent flag too high, or, you know, and I'm okay with that. And
is that coming from label employees or peers?
I mean, it's coming, it's coming from labels. It's coming from people at radio. It's coming from people at playlisting. It's coming from, you know, all angles. And you know how this town is,
oh, yeah.
You know. And I am kind of going against the grain. And so I'm used to things being a little rocky. The road less traveled always is. But I think that I've been in a couple of situations where I feel like my value isn't seen, and I'm going to remove myself from any situation where I don't feel like I'm valued. And so that's where I'm at right now. And I will find the right team of people, whether it be at a label or management or, you know, promotions or whatever it is, who value me.
It is wonderful to see intelligent, talented people be willing to believe in themselves and take a chance on the path that they want to go down and not be lured in by the money. Because I believe that a true artist that has the gift, that is determined to do this for the rest of their life, it is a lifestyle. It's not just a career, it's a lifestyle.
Right.
If you dedicate yourself to that, then who has the right to judge you for what path you want to go down?
Yeah. For sure.
No way.
That's falling on your head, sorry.
Falling down?
Sorry.
See, we still got some things to work out. Damn it, Junior.
Dang, I really liked that too. I was like, why does that have to fall right now? This is great.
We have to keep that.
We have to keep...
This camera keeps shutting off.
Is it overheating?
I guess it is.
So we've still got things to work out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, everything is a work in progress.
We talked about this yesterday. The flag's going to come down, and we're just going to have to roll with it.
Yeah.
I wondered why you were looking up at my head.
I was like, I really don't want to interrupt what he's saying because it's so good. So I'm just going to let it roll. And then when that part started to fall, I was like, okay.
Awesome.
You're just going to get like a blanket over your face.
We're learning as we go. That's awesome.
But I completely agree with what you're saying. And I just feel like a lot of times things are overcomplicated in this industry.
Amen.
They're overcomplicated.
They are.
Why does it have
It's
to?
about music.
Thank you.
It's a feel thing. If it feels good, that's what it's about. Music is supposed to. It allows you to connect with people. If you're writing something relevant and you're putting your heart and soul in it, and it connects to somebody, how dare some fat old guy at a record label tell you that you're not good?
100%.
Or that you're not
tell you that
talented.
that's not the song.
Yeah. When you're the one that goes out there and plays it every night and you see that reaction, when you get that thing and they go, nah, I just don't hear it. I've felt that crap before. I've had them tell me that about songs that I've proved my point with. And it's very frustrating. But they don't go out there and see it every night. Those guys that work at those record labels, and even if at some point they were a musician or they produced records along the way, you take a year off the road and you would be amazed at how fast you forget what it's like. It really goes quick. So y'all, any questions? Junior, come on.
Hey, Junior.
What's up?
Junior.
What's up?
I was thinking about this last night. What does it mean to you? And there's no wrong answer on this, but like, what does it mean to you? Like when they say someone has it, like what is it?
Man, I think it's a lot of things. Like you're talking about like the X factor, right? Like what makes somebody look at that artist and say they've got it. They're going to be just fine. I do think that there is a kind of charisma and like aura that just kind of radiates off of a person when they're on stage, when you can tell that they really love what they do. And I think that what it always boils down to is how much heart and fire and drive do they have fueling them to be this version of themselves that is standing up on stage giving everything that they have every single night, whether to 5 people or 5,000 people or 50,000 people. That fire, that drive is what is giving them, it's what's fueling them to put on that performance that makes you look at them and say they have it. That's what I think.
Well,
Excellent
look
answer.
at that.
That was great.
Scott.
This is about songwriting. I always like to ask songwriters, how they, their process and what they like to do. Do you ever start writing a song and not know what it's about until you get 3/4 of the way done with it? Or do you go in with a pretty clear idea of what you're going to say?
Man, since I started writing songs just purely as an outlet, I sit down all of the time and I just let my brain and my heart speak. And then I record everything. So like with this record that I'm working on right now, I have every single voice memo of me just babbling for 45 minutes. And so I'm going to, which I haven't even talked about yet, but I'm going to release these little clips of how the concept of the hook came about as like a bonus tracks. And then I'll talk a little bit about how I came up with the song or what I was feeling or and so I'll just sit there and I'll just let my brain speak and my heart speak. And then, there's also times I co-write a lot. So there's also times when I come in and I'm like, I have this hook and we do it in the normal Nashville co-writing way.
Yeah.
And there is no rule book with writing songs. And you know that. It's you do it different every single day. And at the end of the day, for me, personally, I don't care, which people get frustrated with me, and I'm fine with it, in the co-writing world. I don't care how many times we have to get in the room in order to finish a song. That makes no difference to me, because we're going to write it until it's right, and we're going to write it until it speaks to somebody. I love full circle moments in songs. I love that moment that raises the goosebumps, I mean, I sing Paint Me a Birmingham all the time. And I mean, I that is one of those songs for me, where you can see it. You can see it all unfold. And that is what I want to be as a songwriter.
That's the ultimate goal, is to be able to get to that place where you are able to paint a picture with words.
Yes.
And the listener can close their eyes and they can put themselves in the scene and in the moment. And that is the true pinnacle of being a songwriter, is being able to get a song to that point, because
Yes.
there's a skill to it where you can smell the smell and you can taste the taste.
Yeah.
And see the tapestry and feel the texture of the wall and feel it all. That's the gift. That's what you try to get to.
Man, that's all I've ever wanted to do. It's why I fell in love with country music. I mean, I was writing short stories when I was younger too. That was another part, but I won like young authors contest for writing short stories.
Cool.
And so I've always, I guess, just been a natural storyteller or had a really great imagination. That's what my parents used to say anyways. You've got quite the imagination. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to paint pictures. I wanted to put you, if you needed to be in a happier place, I wanted to put you in that happier place. And if you needed to sulk and let those tears fall and you needed to lift that weight, then I wanted to put you in that place where you felt comfortable to do so. And that is the songwriter that I want to be. And so I have had to, in navigating co-writing in this town, I've had to be okay with not writing well with everyone.
You can't write well with
You
everybody.
can't write well with everybody.
And some people don't want to write well with you.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And you know what I've learned over the years? I've got a circle of writers that I write with on a regular basis when I'm in songwriting mode, and I'll try to add a couple of new people here and there, but I stay with my well. I stay with
I
my
do
people
too.
because I've got a comfort zone with them, and a lot of them I've been writing with for a long time, and I've had a couple of them retire along the way, and I miss some of those collaborations. A few of them pass away.
Right.
But I don't have to stray too far. I don't because I don't have to be with people I'm not comfortable around. I just
Right.
don't.
Right. And I do the same. I have my core group of people that I know have the same objective when we get into a room. They're not turning and burning songs, because that is a thing that, especially now with the way that things have kind of evolved, they're turning and burning songs. I mean, it's like they want to get one song done and another started in a 4-hour session. And it's like, none of the songs aren't saying anything.
Yeah.
Nothing is being said. We're just throwing around the same verbs and adjectives over and over and over until we decide where we can connect all of this gibberish to make a hook that's catchy.
And while you guys are over there, I'm going to lay this groove down. I'm going to put this grid down. We're going to cut it all to this right here. And we're going to have a demo when we get done, too.
Right.
I hate that.
I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
You know, what did they say when he wrote The Gambler, that he worked on that thing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks till he finally got it where he wanted it. Sometimes it just takes longer.
I know, and I have to. I'm not gonna lie. I remember a specific session that I left when I first started coming to Nashville to write songs, and I had written by myself for a very, very long time, years, at least 7 years. I had written by myself, and so I had to get used to it. I had to get used to co-writing, and these people were not particularly nice with the fact that I wanted to dig. I wanted to dig for this lyric, this line. It was the wrap-up line. It was the line that pulled everything together, and I wanted to dig for it, and I was the overthinker in the room. You know?
Wow. When I got to town, I really thought I was a good songwriter. I had notebooks full. I had tapes, work tapes that I'd done. And then I got to sit down with Paul Nelson and Dean Dillon. Then I got to write with guys that it's like, I didn't know anything. I felt about yay big.
Same. Yeah.
Overwhelming. I mean, to see real true poets at work and what
it really
they're capable
is
of doing. But I won't mention the name, but very, very well-known, prolific songwriter. I'd been trying to get a write with him for a long time. This was many years ago. Finally got hooked up with him. Well, he was 45 minutes late, so I sat in the parking lot and waited on him. When he got there, we got up to the room, and we banged around, threw a couple of ideas out, and he said, I got to go to the bathroom. He came back, and he said, I'm just not feeling it today. He picked up his bag, and he left. I went, what the hell just happened?
Lord have mercy.
Oh, yeah, you experience it all.
Man, I had one that I wanted to get a ride in for a long time, and there was a third in, and I was really excited about this, and he was also late, and which I was like, okay, whatever. And me and the third in the room we were like, well, let's not just sit around and wait, like let's work on some ideas so that by the time he gets in here, we're rolling.
Yeah.
And so we were doing that and whatever, but I started to realize very, very early in the write that he was not going to be communicating with me at all.
Oh, he wouldn't even look at you.
He was only going to be, which I pulled the third in. And so he would only communicate with the other man in the room, would not even look me in the eyes.
Wow.
And I'd spit out lines, and then the third would reiterate the lines, and he'd be like, yes, yes, And I was like, this is buck wild. What is going on? And I mean, at that point, that was something I kind of laughed about when I left. I was like, man, that is crazy.
But those are the situations you never put yourself back in.
100%. Yeah.
Check him off the list.
Right.
With you, I'll move on. Cause,
Yeah.
Because I don't have to continue to go in and be in a room full of people I'm not comfortable with that don't respect me. If I'm going to give you the respect, I expect it to come back to me. And if we don't have that, then I don't need to be with you.
100%. You know how many talented songwriters are in this town?
Thousands.
It's like
thousands of them.
you don't have to be disrespected continuously by somebody. I mean, there's songs being pumped out every minute, every hour in this town.
Absolutely.
And so, but that was a learning experience for me, and I am very, very grateful for all of the ups and downs, all the learning experiences, and this town's been, it's. I wanted to move here for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I finally got the courage, when you're from a small town, it's like, you got to move to Nashville. You got to move to Nashville. Why aren't you in Nashville playing the bar circuit and stuff?
Yeah.
And so I looked at this as such a huge leap to come here. And like, this meant I was really doing it when I got here. And I put a lot of pressure on that. And then to come here and to find out that you're not the best songwriter here. You're not the best vocalist here. It humbled me so much. I've just learned a lot since I've been here, and I'm really happy that I decided to go all in,
I'm proud for you.
Thank
Proud
you.
of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving me a little bit of your time. What do you see for the rest of the year? What's the rest of the year hope for you? Another tour lined up? What are you doing?
Well, we've got lots of shows. We're just finishing everything out with Fair and Festival season right now. Got lots of headlining stuff. I've got a headlining tour coming up at the end of the year off of my new record. That'll be out at the end of the year. And I've got new music coming. I'm really, really excited about this new record. It's the first time that I've been able to really give these songs every single bit of me without thinking about what everybody else is going to think, or is it going to fit into the genre that I've been kind of put into over the last year, or is this going to get the label heads to look at me, or the A&Rs to pay attention, or I didn't think about any of that going into the writing of these songs, and I think it's some of my best stuff. And so I'm really excited for everybody to hear it.
I can't wait.
Thank you.
Alexandra Cave.
Thank you so much.
So good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
having me. It's great to see you too. And you're going back out in November, so if you need support, give me a call.
Absolutely. Great to see you, dear.
Great to see you.